Good evening. Welcome all. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have an exciting program. I'm really looking forward to hearing from our speakers. My name is Jim Lawrence, and I serve our organization as Chair Board of Directors. A little about FxSM. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan, with a single mission: to persuade our County Board of Supervisors to install a civilian oversight board with an Inspector General's office for our San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. Now, there are very many reasons why we believe this is good for our county. But number one for me is that we need a system of checks and balances. As you all know, our elected leaders, beginning with President Biden, Governor Newsom, Mayor, City Councilman, all have checks and balances, and so forth. Accountability, transparency, community trust are for any elected leader a must. Our oversight board will put our county on the road to achieving many of these elements of governing. Now, today, I'm pleased to report to you that our group are working with a subcommittee of the Board of Supervisors, effectively looking at this from a standpoint of developing a model and bringing it back to the full board. I won't go into any details, but I'm pleased to report to you that things are moving forward. I'm very pleased with the progress, and in due time, we will certainly share more details with you. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. We have two exciting speakers, and I think you're gonna really enjoy what they bring to the table. Thank you.
Hi, I am Nancy Goodban, Executive Director of FxSMC San Mateo County, and I'm thrilled to be here with Sarah Lee and Beth Von Imster, who are my colleagues from the San Mateo County Coalition of Immigrant Rights, which has endorsed FxSMC San Mateo County, and they're going to do a spotlight. Sarah is a senior community organizer at the Immigrant Legal Resource Center. She focuses on disentangling law enforcement from ICE immigration alongside local and statewide coalitions. As part of the San Mateo County Coalition for Immigrant Rights, which we call SMCCIR, Sarah has helped lead a campaign to end the sheriff's collusion with ICE, resulting in a strong policy in the county that has ended double punishment and keeps families together. Beth Von Imster is the co-chair of the ACLU North Peninsula chapter, which is a founding member of San Mateo County Coalition of Immigrant Rights. ACLU North Peninsula partners with other community organizations to address civil liberties issues in San Mateo County, including criminal justice, voting rights, immigrant rights, and the impact of technology on the right to privacy.
Thanks, Nancy. Sarah and I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about the work of the San Mateo County Coalition for Immigrant Rights and how its mission fits with FxSMC's work on sheriff oversight. In addition to the ACLU North Penn chapter and Immigrant Legal Resources Center, our coalition has a number of immigrant rights and criminal and social justice organizations as members, including Community Legal Services of East Palo Alto, Silicon Valley Debug, Asian Law Caucus, and Pacifica Social Justice, among others. The coalition came together back in 2008 in reaction to a horrific law enforcement practice of turning over underage youth here in the county to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE. After managing to bring an end to youth transfers, the coalition turned its attention to our adult neighbors being turned over to ICE. The coalition is a big supporter of FxSMC's work to bring sheriff oversight to the county because sheriffs play such an outsized role in the lives of some immigrants. ICE relies heavily on sheriffs to fill their detention facilities, a system commonly referred to as the arrest to deportation pipeline. Sheriff oversight can really shine a very public spotlight on a sheriff's practice of colluding with ICE. They can collect and present data and help the public and policymakers really understand the harms to both immigrants and to the wider community. And now it's my pleasure to hand it over to my coalition colleague, Sarah, to talk more about the coalition's advocacy and how you can help our current efforts.
Thanks so much, Beth. And it's so great to be here this evening with Fix in San Mateo County, and also to see all the different familiar faces on the call as well. So many of you have been part of this effort to end San Mateo County's collusion with ICE, especially through the Sheriff's Office. And so thank you, Beth, for giving an overview of kind of the issue. So much of the work that we focused on impacts Black and Brown community members, as well as Asian and Pacific Islander immigrant community members. So we know that this is very much a racial justice issue. I also want to highlight that one of the most amazing advocates in the SMCCIR coalition, Maricela Santos, is here on the call. She has been such an outspoken voice talking about the impact on her family of when the sheriff colludes with ICE. And so just wanted to name Maricela here in this space. As Beth has mentioned, SMCCIR had made it a goal to focus on ending all ICE transfers from our county jail and make sure that we keep our families together. I just want to share a quick kind of summary of what has happened in the past several years. For many years, San Mateo County was one of the worst culprits of working with ICE, even during the pandemic. Since 2018, which is when we actually started getting records, San Mateo County Sheriff's Office has transferred over 100 community members in San Mateo County to ICE. And this, of course, is including family members and loved ones that are impacted. And, you know, even for 2020 and 2021, San Mateo County was, again, one of the worst culprits in the Bay Area, the highest transfer numbers out of the 9 Bay Area counties. And so years of advocacy, especially in the last several years, we mobilized around the Truth Act forums, which many of you have been a part of, that were required in the county, with directly impacted speakers, getting allies like many of you across the county to speak up. I think we did 4 Truth Act forums annually. And last 2021 in November, former Sheriff Bolaños changed his policy to stop working with ICE. It was momentous. And what that means is now that, you know, immigrants and citizens alike can be treated equally when they complete their sentences in county jail and can reunite with their families. This is huge. And I wanted to invite folks to an opportunity in a couple of weeks, actually, on January 31st, on Tuesday, at the Board of Supervisors meeting at 9 a.m. We have an opportunity to make this policy change permanent. As many of you know, a sheriff policy is great. It's a huge change, but it doesn't mean that it's permanent. A sheriff policy can change at any moment. And an ordinance passed by the Board of Supervisors can actually make this a part of a countywide culture and actually kind of promote legislation to pass this. And so on the 31st at 9 a.m., we have amazing champions, Supervisor Canepa and Pine, who will be introducing an ordinance to ensure no county funds are used to separate families. And so we need your voices to share in public comments, and we will be sharing an RSVP form where you can tonight add your name and email so that you can even get a template email to share out with your networks. And we'll also have a flyer ready as well. I don't know, Nancy, if we can show the flyer to folks in the screen too, but yeah, that's a little pitch for you to join us on January 31st at 9 a.m. We can finally kind of finish this fight. It's such an amazing milestone. So thank you so much for letting us share and for letting Beth and I share a little bit more about the coalition's work.
And sure, if you want to post that flyer on screen share for a moment, people can look at it. Thanks for the link.
Yeah, there's the flyer, and whoever RSVPs will get this over email, and you'll also get a template to share out with your networks too. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Before I introduce the next speaker, I just want to remind everybody, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And if you are on a phone and can't use the chat, please raise your hand during the question and answer period, and we will call on you. Thank you. So my name is Trina Patton, and I am the Outreach Work Group Lead for Fix in San Mateo. I am also a member of Belmont Neighbors Against Racism, affectionately known as BNAR. Tonight, we are excited to have District 2 County Supervisor Noelia Corzo with us. Supervisor Corzo is the first Latina on the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors. This in and of itself is quite historic, but how it happened may actually be a guide for future elections. Supervisor Corzo got elected by running a grassroots campaign that motivated previously disenfranchised voters to not only care, but to actually come out and vote. Previous to her race for supervisor, Ms. Corzo was an advocate for police oversight. She was one of the first elected officials to endorse FxSN and also spoke before the Board of Supervisors in favor of oversight. She did not wait to see which way the winds were blowing before taking a stand. Supervisor Corzo has lived in District 2 for most of her life. She holds a bachelor's degree in sociology from San Francisco State. And previous to her most recent win, she served as a board trustee for the San Mateo Foster City School District. Supervisor Corzo has dedicated her life to public service, and we are thrilled to have her with us this evening. Please join me in welcoming Noelia Corzo, Board of Supervisor for District 2.
Thank you so much. To be quite honest, I'm still adjusting to being called Supervisor Corzo because it's so new. I think I'm about a week, less than a week and a half in. So thank you so much for being so proactive and inviting me to this space. I definitely, I will tell my story a little bit. I'll share some of my background, but let me also just thank the previous speakers. And also let me slow down because we do have translation happening. But I want to just thank briefly the previous speakers because I got to see, I got to attend the Truth Act Forum in 2021, and the organizing behind it and the way that SMCCIR led and brought together the community was beautiful and amazing and successful and effective. So thank you. So I'll just go a little bit into my background. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Trina, by the way. As you mentioned, I actually grew up in the city of San Mateo. My parents are immigrants from Guatemala. And, for many years, for decades, were undocumented. And so that really has impacted my perspective on immigrant rights, on policing, right? And knowing that there is there's knowledge in the community that having an interaction with police can have long-lasting impacts far beyond, just an arrest and serving your time and that's it. My current role as supervisor is one that I will use to the best of my ability to really help uplift folks in our community that have been historically excluded, and definitely with a focus on many groups that fall into that category, but definitely immigrants and folks that have experience with incarceration. And one of my priorities has always been mental health, and that also includes rehabilitation, right? And rehabilitation over incarceration is something that I truly believe in, and that I will make sure I prioritize during my time on the Board of Supervisors. I will now share, oh, I'm hearing the thunder over here. Wow. I'm going to share a personal story, and actually it might be more than one, because I really want to demonstrate why I believe, I feel like, you know, it's important for people to be able to share their stories. Sorry, that's my dog. Hold on a second. Sorry, I hope he'll stop, but I might have to escort him out of the room if he continues. Yes, so my family's history, or my childhood memories. Oh wow, you can't hear the dog. Okay. My childhood memories, my first interactions with police and law enforcement were not necessarily positive ones. And I actually spoke up about this at a Board of Supervisors meeting, because I just felt like it needed to be said. And when it comes to, you know, building trust with law enforcement, with our sheriff's department, I'm gonna escort him out of the room, because even if people can't hear, it's distracting to me. So 1 second.
And I'll just take this time to remind people, please put any questions or comments in the chat, and we'll read them when Noelia is done with her presentation. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, one of my first interactions with police was, you know, having this vivid memory of my brother being arrested and then spending time in the Juvenile Justice Center. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I understood that, you know, my family was homeless at one point when I was younger. And then when I learned that my mom actually had to pay thousands of dollars for the time that my brother spent in juvenile hall, it was so upsetting to me, because that's, you know, it's just not right. And so the reason why I brought it up in that meeting, even though it's no longer a practice that is happening currently, I think it still speaks to some of the distrust that people have, because even if it's not happening now, it did happen to them and they still live in this community. And so that is still trust that needs to be repaired. And I truly believe there has to be, you know, that needs to be acknowledged. And there are still issues related to that we need to address. And then going, you know, moving towards another very vivid memory that I have personally. When I was 16, I myself was the victim of police brutality. And I was 16 years old. I had recently lost my brother. I was, you know, I had a lot going on. And I won't go into detail, but just to say that, you know, I was probably like less than 100 pounds back then. And if you know me in person, you know that I'm pretty small. I'm about 5 feet tall. And I was arrested. I was pushed into a chain link fence. I had my hair pulled. I had handprints bruised on my arms. And, you know, it wasn't with the sheriffs, with the San Mateo County sheriffs, but it was with law enforcement. And it is part of the mistrust that exists in our county and with law enforcement. And so I think anything that we can do to create citizens oversight and make sure that we have a space and a system of accountability, I think is really important, and also really powerful for people in our community that have not had positive experiences with law enforcement. we know, like, I think the overall effort is about creating accountability and giving the community the power to hold, to hold our system accountable. But it's also about kind of communicating that there are injustices that happen, and that, as humans, no one should be above the law, and no one and everyone should be accountable to the same laws, right? And everyone has a right to safety. And so, those personal experiences definitely impacted my view of policing. And also, I had a conversation with the president of the Deputy Sheriff's Association before the election. And I told him, and this was actually after there was this mailer that had gone out where I was given an F grade on a report card that they made. And I told them that, it was really important that they know that the way that I address issues and transparency and, systems change, and the way that I look at policing is not different than the way that I look at our educational system, than the way that I look at our county, right? Like it's not being treated, it's not that I, have this horrible perspective and that I don't, everyone wants to feel safe, right? Everyone wants public safety to be prioritized and to be accessible and equitable for all people. And that means that people are allowed to question and to, ask for transparency. And that, my perspective on, law enforcement and sheriffs in our county is not different than any other policy area or any other system. But when there is a culture of a lack of transparency, when there is a culture of, corruption or leadership that is not transparent or accountable, or accountable to the community, then that change and those questions and that demand for oversight feels very intrusive. But it doesn't mean that it's not something that people deserve or that our community deserves, right? And I told him at that time, let me know a time and date. I will walk into a room full of deputy sheriffs and I will be myself, and I will go alone, and I will have as many difficult conversations as we need to have for folks to understand that I am not here to attack you or to undermine public safety in our community. I am here to work with you, but that doesn't mean that I won't push on things that I need to be pushed on, right? So I will keep folks updated on when and where that happens. I mean, maybe not where, but just so folks know, I truly believe in transparency and in doing community-driven work. And, as far as my work on the Board of Supervisors, I 100% intend to, support immigrant rights, to support citizens oversight, to do so also just in a meaningful way that truly there is a vast coalition of folks that want to have a voice in the process, that want to have input and agency, and that want to have a government that is responsive to what the true majority of our community is asking for. And we know through not just elections, but through a lot of the movement building in our county, that the message that the community is sending is very clear. And I think that's, you know, that is what has led to this kind of shift in the winds in our county. And that's powerful. And I'm really excited to be a part of it. I also just want to spend some time and name that, you know, 2020 was a really difficult year. And it was a year of, you know, the pandemic, the George Floyd protests, but also, I think, you know, it also created space for the death and murder of Chinedu Okobi to be lifted up, and for that to be centered in a way that it hadn't been before, right? In a way where we could have conversations with elected officials and say, you made a statement about Chinedu Okobi, you made a statement, you made a statement about George Floyd, you made a statement about Black Lives Matter, but in our county, we had a Black man killed by sheriffs, and that wasn't acknowledged as it should have been. And that is, you know, Chinedu and his family deserve justice, and that justice hasn't come yet. And I do think that, you know, what the family asks for is, like, they support citizens' oversight. They want change. And that is, I think, the opportunity that we have before us. And I'm excited to, again, be a part of it and to kind of restore some of that harm that was done by, you know, they say silence is complicity. And that's something that I believe, right? As someone who got to meet Chinedu's family, and I never could bring myself to watch the video, but I would likely will watch it soon. And, you know, as far as, so actually, I'm not sure if folks know, but there was a death that resulted, well, it's under investigation, but there was a person that died in a hospital, but was in custody previous to that. And so that is another situation that will have to be investigated, where, you know, where, like, I personally know that I will be demanding to see video of what kind of led up to that. But we desperately need citizens' oversight. And, you know, I do also want to shift a little bit and talk about my commitment to working collaboratively with our new sheriff, Sheriff Corpus. And that also means that I might not always agree with her on everything, right? But I am committed to kind of working through some of those disagreements to you know, and getting to a place where we can do the important work that needs to happen. And I was actually just reviewing the sheriff's website, and I was noticing that, you know, I'm not sure if I know many folks attended her inauguration. It was so well attended, and it was, I would say, impressive. And she talked about an initiative that she has started. And please, anyone feel free to correct me, but it's CARE or CARES. And I also heard a community member talk about that at my first, at my swearing in, and the first meeting that I attended as a supervisor for the county. And you know, again, I'm a lifelong learner, so I don't know everything. So, and that's also why I so much appreciate working with our community and being community driven, because I don't know everything. I need to learn from folks in our community. And that's, that's how we get to a place of better solutions. But part of me initially just was wondering, is this something that is being proposed instead of citizens oversight or in addition to? And so I personally, I am committed. I will be requesting a meeting with Sheriff Corpus next week so that we can dig into that and so that I can learn more and so that can inform my thinking. But I also feel pretty, pretty committed to strong oversight. And if that is not what the sheriff wants, I have the right and the duty to vote my conscience and my conscience and what the community is asking for. And with that, I will stop there. I'll wrap up my comments and turn it back over to Trina, and happy to answer questions as well.
Okay, we have some great questions in the chat. Very, very, very thoughtful questions. So one of the first ones from Diane is, how do we eliminate cash bail? That's a tough one. Right off the bat.
What's interesting and what is coming up from, the very direct answer, I am not sure, but I am committed to learning how. I am part of a coalition or an organization called Local Progress that helps elected officials and shares resources for really progressive work that's done across the country. And I know that work is happening in other places. And then also, I think that, there's like the DA and there's the sheriff. And so I'm not sure if that falls under actually the DA, who is democratically elected and elected by the voters. And, similarly, I think to the sheriffs, I think it is likely possible. I just need to learn more. And I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but I will learn more about how that can happen.
Okay. Very good. You talked some about your experiences with your family and the juvenile justice system. And Nancy asked, can you help us reform juvenile hall? Their probation chief reports to the board, and the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Commission has made important recommendations.
Yes, so I'm absolutely committed to doing that. I'm actually, I was appointed to that commission, and I see, I saw someone here in the chat who is also on that commission, who I need to meet with.
Paul and Joanna are here.
Yes, Paul and Joanna.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Sorry, that's
okay.
I've done a lot of learning this past week, and my brain is a little bit on over.
That's a lot going on. No problem. Yes.
But
I know that we have lots of experts here with us tonight, and Paul and Joanna are both on the commission.
Yes, and Johanna, I know, will be reappointed. So was already reappointed at the first meeting. So yes, I need.
Well, and with that, I'll just say, Paul also says, have you read the December report that identifies all of the deficiency?
I have not read that report yet. I've been doing a lot of reading, but I'm trying to become an expert in our county budget. And it is definitely on the list. And I do have, by the end of this week, I'll have I also have staff that I've been onboarding. So Paul, contact me and Johanna, and let's have a meeting about it and go over that.
Great. And something more county related as well is, what can the supervisors do to make the DA more accountable to the people in this county? Or even, can the supervisors do anything to make the DA more accountable?
I don't think anything is impossible. I do believe that I do believe that it's possible. And I think it will have a lot to do with political pressure and public pressure, but also, you know, having a good relationship with the other staff that are part of the district attorney is part of that path forward. He is our district attorney, but he does not run the district attorney's office by himself. And so, you know, I'll meet with him in the coming weeks and I'll have a better idea of the path forward.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Allison wanted to ask about, you talked about rehab over incarceration, and Allison says that she's very excited that you are a supervisor and thank you for your service. And she's wondering if there are opportunities to separate the rehabilitation services from the jail system and outsource them to community groups that provide mental health services that might also be more culturally appropriate. Just another little small issue.
Yes. Sure, yeah. Yes. I had my first behavioral health commission meeting there. So I definitely think that, you know, I just, there are different things, like, for example, Choices is a program within the sheriff's, within the jail, right? The county jail. And so I think that serves its purpose. I do think that there are rehabilitation services that are run by nonprofits that need more support and that need, you know, we can't, how do I say this? That need more support. And I actually sometimes think that shifting things from the county to nonprofits who are paying folks nonprofit wages and then have a ton of demand and not enough staff and not enough budget and not enough infrastructure is something that needs to be done a little bit differently. I'm not saying like it should be run by nonprofits, but I also think that that we need to do, that the county can be more supportive. And I'm not sure what exactly that should look like yet, but it is also another one of my many priorities. I have a long list of priorities in case y'all didn't notice.
And Paul just makes the note that we are spending $2 million a year incarcerating our youth. What about matching that amount for foster kids, the foster program? You know, we spend a lot of money on incarceration, but not so much on care. Diane wants to know, how much influence does the Board of Supervisors have over the sheriff? Does the board have any legal influence? Like, can you tell the sheriff what to do?
The sheriff is elected by the people, and the supervisors have the power of the purse, and the supervisors have the political power of, you know, being some of the highest highest office elected officials in the county, and the power of the purse is really important. I do know, so the answer is, I'm still kind of testing the waters on how that all will work. But number one, I think it's really important to always approach people in a collaborative way, and you know, in a way where you can look at an issue and tackle it together. And there are some, I want to say there's at least 2 or 3 committee assignments that I have where I will be working with Sheriff Corpus. And so I intend to, you know, work collaboratively with her and kind of, you know, relationship building can be really important. It doesn't have to take months and months or years and years. But I do think it's important, you know, when you want to be able to influence someone or tackle an issue together, if you don't have a positive working relationship, you're not gonna really be able to meet in the middle. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Bill wants to just say thank you for continuing to talk about Chinedu Akobe. and to get justice, because we can never forget what has happened. And so he thanks you for bringing up Chinadu. April says, thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with our community and elected officials and discuss oversight and criminal justice issues. And let me see, we have an FYI from Allison Madden. Maurice Goodman advised me that the sheriff was putting together a group around women's incarceration conditions. I will double check with him. He spoke with me after I spoke on women's conditions in a San Mateo County leadership group. And then the sheriff's program, right? Yeah. Sheriff Corpus's program, CARE, is Community Activists for Responsible Engagement. And that is her program. It is not intended to replace what we are working for, which is independent civilian oversight. And we have to remember to use the word independent. It doesn't matter who the sheriff is. This committee, the oversight committee, is independent of whatever else the sheriff is doing. And I know we only have a couple of minutes left. Let me see, trying to scroll through these.
Can you take Angel's question, Trina? He's been affected directly by the system.
Oh, okay. Angel asks about how can you help us make a difference on health services while in custody, and as many more issues that we have as a community are concerned about. Will you be accountable in supporting our community to be a voice inside the Board of Supervisors chambers?
So I kind of heard two questions there. So the first one was, how can we kind of improve the health services within the county jail? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. So one of the issues that is will be before the Board of Supervisors in the coming months is actually related to extra help staff. And so my understanding is that many times there are extra help staff being hired to meet more of a permanent need, and health services is one of the sectors where that's happening a lot in our county. And so I absolutely know that it is an issue, and we'll see, right? I do have to learn more about it. I personally have I've been to the county jail, but only as a visitor. When I visited family years ago, I haven't gotten the chance to tour the inside of the jail and see what conditions look like there. I'm going to ask Sheriff Corpus if she will, host me and allow me to do that. And so, beyond that, I just need a little bit more time. I'm not even 2 weeks in. So in a couple of months, I hope to have a better response for that. And then the second question was whether I will be accountable to the community. And my response to that is 100% yes. I always intend to be very transparent and available. I'm also just one person. And so I think most people that know me know that I take a lot longer to respond now at times. And it's not because, the outreach that's happening isn't important. It's because I'm getting a lot of folks kind of reaching out for my time, for meetings, and I'm doing a lot of learning in our county, and that all takes time. And so I would just ask for some grace and some patience so that I can, get to a place where I have my team fully firing on all cylinders, and so that we can kind of scope and sequence our work. And I will share that. I'm sorry, I'm talking very fast.
That's okay.
I will share that one of the goals that I have for my team and for District 2 is that we will go through a strategic planning process so that we educate the community on how much funds District 2 has available. And that does not mean that those funds are only for District 2. It could be to fund things in the county in general. But I want the community to know that we have this pot of money that ultimately I will make decisions on how to spend, but I want to do that based on data, based on community input, and in a really transparent way so that we create institutional knowledge in our community about, the access that nonprofits and organizations and, initiatives have to county funds from me, from my office, and from the county.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Supervisor Corzo. What I am hearing in these questions is that people finally feel like they actually have a representative, someone who understands where they come from and their concerns, and they are excited to have somebody like you who they feel like can actually try to get something done. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And we appreciate your openness and your transparency. And I'm sure you will have a lot of support from the community. Thank you for being here.
Hi. Hello.
Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. Thank you so much. Go ahead, RJ.
All right. Thank you all for being here. I am going to pull us together and we'll walk through a gratitude practice. But before that, I want to let you know that at our next event, we will have Ray Mueller here, a recently elected Board of Supervisor, to speak at our next event. So stay tuned, watch for the dates. But I just want to let you know that we're going to continue this energy. And this is really the basis of our gratitude. I have a declaration, and my declaration is that I'm committed to the integration and the global embodiment of diversity for the sake of skillful interaction throughout the world. And what that means to me is that we have the same needs out there and yet an inability to communicate. And when I am in a group with you, when I am in audience with Supervisor Corzo, I feel like you're fulfilling on my declaration. And I just want to honor that and thank you. And I want you to take a glance around the room. I know it's a little difficult, but to see that you're not alone in this, that we can extend our gratitude to each other and continue to build on this energy. So thank you, Supervisor Corzo, for your leadership. And I am offering this group as your posse. We've got your back. Let us know how we can help. And what I'd like for you to do at this moment, whether you're sitting or standing, is just to take a breath up, feel your connection to the earth and the support of the earth. Now, without Mother Nature, we'd be flung throughout this space. And allow a string in your breath to just run through the body and connect to the heavens above, the sky, whatever that is that's above us that we are connected to. And allow yourself to uplift into a length of dignity. And notice the dignity of others as you look through this room. I want you to take a breath and feel the dignity of our ancestral journey, of those who came before us. And they're at our back. Their message comes through us. We don't have to manufacture it, that it's already there. And that they took a long journey to get us here. So we got it from here. We can do this collectively. And if you can, just extend your fingers and just reach toward the earth and just begin by giving gratitude and thanks to the earth, that which comes from the earth. Strawberries, carrots. People who are not muted, well, give me a couple more.
Apples.
Apples.
Coffee.
Coffee, beautiful, beautiful. So just giving thanks and that support that comes from the earth. And just take your hands and bring them up the center of your body and reach above and extend above you and out, giving thanks for that which came from above. The hawks, the sky, the moon, what else?
The rain.
The rain, beautiful, exactly, good. And then bring your arms out and send energy out into the community of those in need. Just saying to yourself a name of one or two people that might be able to use your energy and our energy to help them through this, through these times of uncertainty, of the storms, of health. And then I want you to bring your hands to your heart and to your hara, this core center of yourself. And just take a moment and just embrace yourself and give thanks to the self. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for your promise to be here tomorrow. I want to thank you from my ancestors that you're stepping in and making this world a different place for my son. So think of where you're extending your gratitude. And my invitation is for us not to forget to say this to each other when we are in audience with each other. Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Corzo. Thank you, Trina and Nancy and Jim. And Sarah, thank you for being here and your work with ICE and what you're taking us through. But to take those moments to expend gratitude. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. And I look forward to we continuing this journey and look forward to your guidance, Supervisor Corzo. Thank you.
And I'll just quickly close by, I was going to say thank you, RJ, for that. I wanted to say thank you, Luis Romero from Upward Scholars, for interpreting at all of our meetings. And we will send out a recording, but it will be in English. Thank you, Sarah and Beth, for sharing about SMCCIR, and Supervisor Corzo for sharing your heart and your commitments with us. As always, thank you, especially to Jim for leading us on this journey. So just quickly, I'm going to post in chat next month, February 7th, we will be hearing from our other new supervisor, Ray Mueller, and our spotlight will be the San Mateo County Democratic Central Committee. And we will have an in-person party like we do 4 times a year. We do something in person. Trina helped figure out when, probably late March, early April. So, and if you could post the chat, in the chat also, Beth, again, the January 31st, or Sarah could post it. Please sign up to attend January 31st by Zoom or in person at the Board of Supervisors to support the expected proposed ordinance by Supervisors Canepa and Pine to prohibit the use of our county funds cooperating with immigration. And on that note, thank you all for coming. Have a great night.
Thank you.